How you doing, guys? KJ Kid here. This video is going to be a pretty quick tips and tricks guide for downloading Nvidia drivers the right way. Many people out there, myself included at one point, did not know how to properly install Nvidia drivers. What I'm talking about is if you go to GeForce Experience, if you don't have this, you can download it, or if you don't want to sign into anything, if you want to add a little bit more FPS, like maybe 2 FPS, you can not get GeForce Experience. It's entirely up to you. I feel like it adds a whole other dynamic, but you do have to sign in to your GeForce account, and then you go here and then you download the new driver. This driver just came in today. It is 537.13. I'm going to be showing you guys the proper way to be installing these drivers. Before I do that, if you guys don't have GeForce Experience and you guys are like new to this whole thing and you guys figure like, okay, I need this, but I need to know where to go, I'll leave this link in the description. This is for people that don't have GeForce Experience. If you do, then just, skip like 30 seconds ahead. Yeah, so you just download it right here and then you set it up. It'll eventually take you to here. You have to sign up to it and verify your email, all that shit. It is a little bit frustrating that you do have to sign in for something like this, but there's so many features that you could be using with this, and I'm going to be covering most of them today. So without further ado, you want to download your game ready driver. This is a brand new driver, right? Because maybe your game's crashing, maybe you just don't know how to do it right, or maybe you're just trying to figure out a new tip and trick. So we just download it right here, and then we wait for this to be done downloading. Okay, so once it's done downloading, it's going to give you the option for express installation and custom installation. So what you want to do is click custom installation, click yes here. It's preparing the install right now, and then I'm going to show you guys this here real quick. Okay, so it's going to take you here. Once you hit custom installation, you just want to, don't do anything yet, don't click install, don't do anything, just click perform a clean installation. Everything else is great, but just make sure you check perform a clean installation and then hit install. Okay, so once you guys are finished installing that, the custom installation will take a second and it will completely delete any other installation if you've been doing the express installation. The express installation kind of keeps all the leftover data and some of the old drivers in its cache left over, but it's not doing anything. So custom installation, and then you perform a clean installation, and that basically cleans up everything, all your past data. So I guess the little downside with this and inconvenience with it is that you're going to have to readjust all of your graphic settings for every game that you play, and your Nvidia control panel's also going to have to be readjusted. It shouldn't be much of a hassle. I could do that with you guys real quick because I have to do it myself now. So once the installation is finished, you can now close this. It's now installed. The clean installation is done. Before you do anything though, restart your computer. I'll catch up with you guys in a second. Okay, now that you guys are back into your computer, everything is restarted. Everything is now completely fresh. What we do here is, well, I kind of did a little tutorial a couple days ago, showing you guys the control panel, but I could do a quick rundown if you guys haven't seen that. Doesn't matter. You guys don't have to. I'll get it done in this video, at least very briefly. So first and foremost, for global settings and manage 3D settings tab, you want to make sure that low latency mode is always on because this just makes your PC feel more snappy. Next thing is your power management mode. By default, it's going to be optimal power. I set it to adaptive. This means it'll adapt to higher power scenarios for certain programs that I don't need to adjust, but it kind of will adjust itself. But I'll get to the program settings in a second. For shader cache size, you already know this if you guys watched the other video. Make sure this is on unlimited. This prevents stuttering for games and programs that you keep coming back to, and there's already a shader cache that's stowed in those shaders for you, like for previous games that you played. So say you played Warzone and you played a couple games, your shader cache is going to store all those textures and shaders that it downloads through that game, and it'll have an unlimited cache size. So That means if you play another game, those shaders aren't going to disappear once you hit, say, 128 megabytes worth of shader cache storage. So if you do it unlimited, then it'll basically make sure that you never run out of shader cache size, and don't worry about it taking up too much space. Shader sizes, they're not really too big, so but some are, and you always want to make sure that your SSDs, hopefully you guys have SSDs these days. Uh, Hard drives are just a mess, very inconvenient, very unreliable these days. If you guys do, not bashing on you, just, hopefully your SSDs have enough space, at least 150 gigabytes worth of space on your C drive, or even 100. Mine's at 100 right now. So that's about the sweet spot. Make sure that's unlimited. For texture filtering quality, it sets it to quality by default, but I do performance. This will gain you a couple more frames per second in those programs, with minimal visual fidelity loss. So everything will be nice and crisp, maybe a little rough around the edges, which you can fine tune through the game settings, and then also with the program settings that I'll show you guys here in a second. And then this is a little bonus tip for DSR factors. You want 1440p and 4 times if you have those older titles. If you have a more budget GPU and you have a more budget peripheral, like your monitor is a 1080p monitor, but you kind of want to play those games at like a more upscaled resolution, you can do this with DSR factors in the Nvidia control panel. I find this feature very neat. I never really need 4K, but 1440 is very useful for those older titles that you just want a little bit more visual fidelity, even if you're at ultra settings. So, like for Sims 4, for example, I like to play at 1440p because it's just much smoother. And then I get to you also have to adjust the UI size because the user interface is going to be smaller. You're going to put it at 1440p, so that's what I have to do. But it's very cool. It's a little quick tip, and make sure you guys apply these settings before going any further. And then we're just going to go here. Make sure you click on use my preference emphasizing balanced. This is like right in the middle. Quality is going to look a little better, of course. It's going to be much smoother, sharper. Balanced is more my style because it's a balance between quality and performance. So I usually go here. You got minimal visual fidelity loss with this option, rather than just straight up performance, which that looks like, a render from like 2007. So let's just go to balanced here and then make sure that that's applied. So then we're going to go to program settings. This depends solely on the game that you are playing. If you want the maximum performance, say you're playing some Fortnite or something like that, first of all, you always want to make sure that these settings right here are application controlled. If it says anything like anti-aliasing 2 times, uh, okay, so 2 times anti-aliasing setting is, I guess, default for this. There is no application control, but for anisotropic filtering, want to make sure that it's all application controlled. For low latency mode, this game has reflex mode, so you want to turn that off. So you could turn on reflex mode on plus boost in the game settings. It solely depends on the game that you're playing. If the game that you're playing has Nvidia reflex mode, that's a much better setting to enable in an application rather than this setting in the control panel. This setting right here is only for programs that do not have Nvidia reflex in the game settings. So be aware of that. You could set your max frame rate here, or you could use MSI Afterburner. I prefer Afterburner, but you could do this. You can turn it on. You could set your frame cap. You guys can adjust it to whatever you guys see fit for your GPU to not completely bottleneck it and have a smooth frame time and cooler temperatures, longer lifespan of your GPU, and you know all the good stuff. I always recommend a frame cap of any sort. If you guys have that at your disposal, it's very easy to do. This is one way to do it. So for power management mode, especially for competitive games, I like to prefer maximum performance. For global settings, of course, like I said, adaptive. This is adaptive for whatever I may be doing on the PC as a whole, but for these programs in specific for Fortnite, I'm gonna be preferring maximum performance. And that's that, guys. Just apply whatever settings you may have for certain programs. You can also go down or add a program here that is not showing up in this little list right here. So GTA 5, Black Ops 3, BeamNG, etc. Whatever games you guys may be playing, Hunt Showdown, Postal 2, if you guys know what that is. Funny ass game. Project Zomboid, Need for Speed, yeah, that's like a modded Need for Speed. Sons of the Forest, State of Decay 2, even Spotify for whatever reason, Sims 3, 4, etc. If it's not in there, just make sure you go through here. And if it's not in this little list right here, you can always browse your files and whichever drive it's in. If you guys have it downloaded through Steam or Epic Games. So yeah, so you guys can do that if it's not showing up in the list or the ad screen right here. So yeah, that's how you use program settings. A couple more tips and tricks here. If you guys have a display port, so if you are connected to your monitor and your GPU with a display port, you guys can actually enable, depending on your monitor, you guys can actually enable G-Sync. Of course, this is an Nvidia specific setting that you guys can enable, obviously. Yeah, so right here it says that I'm connected to a DisplayPort PC display. If you guys are connected to an HDMI, this will not work. This will not work. You cannot use G-Sync. You have to have a DisplayPort, and you can order these on Amazon or Newegg. Very, very cheap little cords. I think I got mine for like 10 bucks, 15 at most. You guys don't have to get those crazy high-tech ones. I got a DisplayPort 1.4, I believe. So that's the one that I'm running on, and it runs amazing. Switch from an HDMI to a DisplayPort, no issues here. Much less latency than HDMI, better visual fidelity. It's just much more responsive, I guess, in lamest terms. So for setting up G-Sync, you go to here if you guys have that DisplayPort that I was mentioning, and you can enable G-Sync compatible right here. And then I like to enable it for windowed and full screen mode because some programs like Fortnite I like to play at windowed full screen. So also windowed full screen depending on how good your GPU is. It could grant you a couple more frames per second. So yeah, that's a kind of a little tip right there. And then you can enable the settings for the selected display model and apply. So now you should have G-Sync enabled. This will work for the majority of programs. Some programs that use different renderers like OpenGL or Vulkan, I think don't really have G-Sync compatibility like that, and you will see a lot of flickering. And if you guys see flickering with programs like Project Zomboid or older programs, maybe like Postal 2, which have an older DirectX version. I think G-Sync is mainly for DirectX 11 and up, maybe DirectX 10. But for games like Sims 4 that runs on DirectX 9, you're going to be experiencing some kind of flickering. Just a heads up right there because I've had that problem, and then you just unselect this and then the problem's fixed. So this is for newer programs, DirectX 11 and up. Just fair warning for you guys, but this is amazing. It's a low latency variant of VSync. One final setting for you guys here real quick is you go to adjust color settings right here at the left. You click on with the Nvidia settings, you go to advanced dynamic range. Make sure that's on full. Makes your colors pop. It's just a much more poppy experience, especially if you don't have like an HDR display, but even if you do, I definitely recommend this little setting right here. And it even describes what the full 0 to 255 does. May allow more detail in the dark and white areas of some content. It's a free setting. You're not going to be affecting anything. Just it's going to look better without affecting any performance. So without further ado, guys, that is it. Because it's going to reset all of your settings through your NVIDIA control panel and your game settings. You're going to have to go through your programs that you usually go through and adjust them through the application. But this is the whole PC side of things. And that's about it, guys. I feel like I needed to make a follow-up video because I didn't explain some aspects of my last video. If you guys want to see that, I'm sure it'll be recommended in the recommendations. I'm KJ Kitty, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day.